It has just been a major kind of news week for the Detroit Lions, breaking into training camp, and now we're hearing that Aidan Hutchinson is apparently working on a brand new deal as we speak, according to another NFL player who is also working on a deal himself. Now, this was reported by Ian Rappaport. I guess I'm baffled, right, to even think that they would be considering a new deal today. I mean, they've been in camp for a few days. We haven't heard anything about Aiden yet and how he's performing, whether or not that he's looking good or not looking good. No one's said anything, really. And that was a little bit of, cause for concern. But what just popped up is that Aidan Hutchinson is working on a brand new deal as we speak. So let's bring it in. Let's bring in the article and let's shake this tree down and see if there's any validity to this. There's our guy, Aiden. So as reported, this is by Yardbarker, that Ian Rappaport said Detroit Lions, Aidan Hutchinson discussing long-term deal. Now, this is by Griffin McVeigh. This came out at 8:01 p.m. tonight. I literally just got off the live show for Off the Cuff podcast and walked into this. So when talking about a contract extension for the top edge guys, Micah Parsons is the popular name at the moment, but the Dallas Cowboys appear to be in no rush to get a deal done with Parsons. In the meantime, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport believes a new deal could be in the works for another big-time player, which is our guy, Aidan Hutchinson. Rappaport was discussing Parsons, but dropped in a little nugget about Aidan Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions. He says Hutchinson is discussing a long-term deal with the Lions right now. There was even a slight hint at the contract getting done before Parsons receives his from Dallas. Let me say all that again. Rappaport was discussing Parsons, but dropped in a little nugget about Aidan Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions. He says Hutchinson is, quote, discussing, end quote, a long-term deal with the Lions right now, and the deal might get done before Parsons. Aidan Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions. So here's a quote by Rappaport. Aidan Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions is the other big name. High-octane pass rusher, currently discussing a potential long-term deal. If that gets done before Parsons, then Parsons officially on the clock. I should say then Parsons is officially on the clock, but we won't correct them tonight. So it goes on to say here that Hutchinson was on his way to becoming one of the best pass rushers in football before an injury brought his progress to a screeching halt. A broken tibia and fibula against the Cowboys meant the former number 2 overall pick only played in 5 games last season. Yeah, don't remind us. Right? Let's just not be reminded of that. We just want to put that on a shelf way in the back. This is interesting. This is really interesting because from everything that I've heard and everything that we've discussed here, it was going to take Aiden to bounce back before the Lions would feel comfortable about handing him a deal. Now, if he looks like he's fully back already, which I would say is way too early into camp, then okay. It also doesn't mean that, the structure of the deal isn't getting put in play, as far as they're getting all of the things put together. Like, let's just get all of the conversation out. Let's have it out. Let's get all the little tweaks to the contract done. And then we wait and see what Aiden turns out to be this year. And agree on a number, agree on the semantics of the contract, agree on the escalators, agree on the outs, when I'm going to get paid, my signing bonus, and the other 50,000 things that go on in these contracts. I would think that that's happening without a doubt. And I'm sure it's been happening. But for Parsons, and that's what I don't understand about this article. Is it Parsons saying that this is happening, or is it Rappaport? I know Rappaport's saying it's likely to happen, possibly happening. But was it Parsons that just said that he knew that Aiden was having, or getting a deal worked on? That's what's a little bit confusing about this. So let's talk about it for a moment. Would you be surprised if Aiden gets a deal right now? Would you be surprised? Let me know in the comments below. How much do you think his contract will be? right? How much do you think do you think it's more than Myles Garrett or less than Myles Garrett? I personally think it's going to be less. And I think the injury has a lot to do with it. If you wait throughout this season and let Aiden play and do his thing, and if he has a crazy good season, well, then yeah, he probably could earn more. Absolutely. If you sign him right now, I would expect it to be less, 1,000%. Because he's done nothing even close to what Myles Garrett has done. He's done nothing even close to what Crosby has done. Or, I mean, hell, even Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith has had a crazy good career. However, when you look at Aiden's trajectory, and I went through this the other day in a video or a live, whatever. When you look at his trajectory compared to Myles Garrett, I'm going to bring it up for us real quick. It's eerily similar to a degree, but you can see why Myles Garrett got $40 million. Okay, you can definitely see why someone's going to make an argument for Aiden to get $40 million. I understand the argument wholeheartedly. I do. But I think that we're talking about two totally different players here. Take a look at the screen. This is Myles Garrett. Okay, these are his stats. Now, if you look at when he came into the league in 2017, he knocked down 7 sacks. Okay, it doesn't show how many games he played in, but I want to say that was the year that he only played, in like 10 games. The next year was 13 and a half. I think the next year after that in 2019, he might have only played in 10 games. Or 7 games, knocked down 10 sacks. 2020, 21, 22, and 23, and 24. He's had 12 or more sacks, 16 in 2 years, 14 the last 2. That is a trajectory that deserves $40 million. But it's not just the sacks. Look at the tackle numbers. Look at the TFL numbers. Look at everything that Myles Garrett does as a complete defensive end. There's just nobody like him in the league. Let's look at Aiden's stats, okay? This is the beginning of his career. And he starts off in 2022 with 9.5 sacks. The only difference between these two guys is this INT column, right? Aiden's been able to snag 4 INTs, which is not typical for defensive ends. But he starts off with 9.5. He has, gets 2 more the next year in 2023. He balloons up in 2024 really quickly. But I'm going to throw this at you. He's going up against third-string tackles, right? And third-string guards in those first 5 games. First 6 weeks, first 5 games. There was a lot of players that he went up against on the other side of the football that were just not that great. He should have had that stat line. Now, when he's going up against number 1 tackles, that stat line's a lot different. So I get it. I get the conversation. I get the arguments for both ways. Look, get him done now. Maybe we'll save a few bucks. I think the number is the number. Yeah, you could save a little bit right now, but I think the number is the number. I think it's 33 to 35 million a year. I think it's a $4 million or 4-year deal. It could be a 3-year deal at $100 million. Right? It could be very similar to a Max Crosby deal. I would be more in favor of that than a 4-year deal. I think the 4-year deal kind of benefits the team. I think the 3-year deal benefits the player. But at the same time, a 3-year deal could benefit the team and the player if it's constructed, the right way. Definitely need some outs for the Lions in case Aiden is not healthy, right? So this is interesting, man. This just kind of all blew up on our lap tonight that Aiden could be getting a new deal. And according to Ian Rappaport, they're in conversation, and they think it could potentially happen before Myles Garrett gets his deal. The only smart thing about that is if you get it done before Micah Parsons. I'm sorry, I think I said Garrett. If you get it done before Parsons, you're definitely going to save some money, at least you would think, because Parsons is probably going to reset this market again, and maybe Hutchinson's contract could balloon up. It's possible. Does Aiden deserve it? That's the biggest question. You tell me in the comments, does he deserve it based on what he's done? Would you have any apprehensions of giving him a large contract after he just shattered his leg? And he hasn't played a down in the NFL again yet, right? He's a few days of camp. And we haven't heard anything. So I would be a little apprehensive, right? I would be. I'd want to see him get some work done in the season. So, well, anyway, Rappaport, you never know what's coming out of this guy's mouth. You never know what's going to happen in the NFL. So we'll see. We'll see you the next time, though. Maybe we'll find some out this week. Who knows? We'll find out. All right, that's it. You guys take care. I think I'm done for the night. I'm going to grab me some Jake Bates ice cream. All right, I'm out of here. We'll see you guys.
Oh, the podcast.
Shout out to Rock on Detroit Lions, man. One pride.